Welcome to this BUZZ live event to our BUZZ.travel Expo. My name is Jan Larsen and I'm the CEO of BUZZ.travel. Please allow me to take 2 minutes of your time to introduce this event, tell you what it's all about. The purpose of our Expo is to help you restart your business. We have created a place where you can upload your material, your videos, your presentations, and there's a place where buyers and sellers can reach out and communicate. So please do that, exchange business cards, meet, collect ideas, exchange ideas. We open 24/5, not 24/7. The reason for the 24 hours a day is that we have visitors, members, exhibitors from various time zones. The reason for the 5 days instead of the normal 1 or 2 days is that we do not expect you to sit 8 or 10 hours in front of the screen. Pick the addresses you want to see, take a couple of hours to visit the exhibitors, talk to a few, and please do the same the following days. Drop in, drop out. That's the reason. So the main purpose, to facilitate business. We have public events, live events, public speakers. We have two kinds of events. We have the so-called company presentations, and we have our keynote speakers. In these webinar times where the whole world seems to be producing webinars, we have focused very much on getting high quality speakers, speakers who have a message, and speakers who are also ready and prepared to communicate that message in an entertaining way. I think we have been successful here. We have had a lot of help in putting that program together. There's a German saying, on the high seas and in the courtroom, you're in the hands of God. In these webinar Zoom times, you perhaps could add, the same goes for Zoom. We hope we will not have too many technical hiccups, probably not to be avoided totally, but give us please the patience to handle these when they come along. These events are recorded and they will be posted later. So much for the introduction, and now I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker. Professor Dr. Dingeldey is a friend of the house. He is professor for tourism and travel management at the State University in Baden-Wuerttemberg. That's the southwestern part of Germany. And I know him as outspoken speaker with a clear mind and clear opinions, which he is prepared to point. So we are looking very much forward to your presentation. I should, of course, also mention that Alexander Dingeldey is an ambassador of BUZZ.travel. So Alex, let's roll.
A little introduction for me. So thank you, Jan, for the introduction. I had a proper job before becoming a professor, so I did lots of projects with all tourism companies. And another thing is the little advertisement block. Our university is quite unique because all of our students, they work in proper companies for 3 months and then they switch over for studying. So it is a good way if you have got one employee that needs training for 3 years and wants to have a bachelor degree, just call me later. But the thing is, we want to look into the future from a scientific way. And lots of people are talking about scientists at the moment, and they trust them. I don't trust them because I'm a scientist as well. I don't trust myself. My wife doesn't trust me. So what I'm talking about a little bit is about the rational side of the situation at the moment, but which is ratio against emotions. Mostly emotions will win, and I'll sum up a little bit about tourism at the moment. How to look in the future? One way is the crystal ball. And I have a very sad fact for you. On the long run, we are all dead. Someday we will all have to die, sooner or later. Probably, I hope that you will die later. But this is a thing that is sure. And some politicians think at the moment that people should live forever, which is probably not a way that we have at the moment. Another fact is people tend to look always very pessimistic in the world, and the world hasn't been so good until the beginning of the year. I'll give you another example. Hunger. Hunger was eradicated in the last decade. We had the lowest number of deaths by hunger than in all centuries before. And if some non-governmental organizations think, oh, please donate for hunger in the world, that was bullshit. It will maybe, because of economic reasons, hunger will can be, or how long will people live? The life expectancy has never been so good as it has at the moment. So we can be very proud that the world, until the corona mess started, was a very good world. And all the whinging and whining that, oh, always it can be better. But in most countries, the development was in a very, very positive way. Another thing is Europe is world champion in tourism. As you see, those little bubbles are outbound tourists calculated by the World Tourism Organization. And most international tourists come from source markets within Europe. But I say they have another responsibility. I will talk to you about a little bit later. And so if you will lock down at the moment those markets, they will have huge economic influence all over the world. The good news, nobody's talking about climate change or over-tourism at the moment, but still climate change is there. So it's not over, but we'll focus on very one topic. I'll start with the rational side. So one big question is, most of people are afraid of sharks. If you go swimming in the sea, you'll think that there will be a white shark coming and will eat you. But this is a thing where the rational side just is playing a trick on you. And if you ask everybody, he's afraid of sharks. If you look at dangerous animals and the statistics, this is rational side and scientists. There are worldwide 5 to 15 deaths eaten by sharks. And if you ask people, what is the most dangerous animal in the world? Probably say, oh, they are sharks. Definitely not. Crocodiles are eating about 1,000 people per year. Dogs, which are those cute little dogs, are killing 25,000 people per year. It's mostly because they are transferring an illness called rabies. Snake bites are more dangerous. There are about 100,000 deaths per year. And the most dangerous animal in the world are mosquitoes. It's not funny because we have 750,000 people dying of malaria every year. And with the economic downturn of Corona, probably this number will increase. These are all the statistics. Next question is, do they look like terrorists? That's me with my daughters, and probably not. But if you go down 40 years later, in southern Tyrolia, those wearing Bavarian or Tyrolean dresses would be considered as terrorists. They were terrorists bombing police stations. They wanted to rejoin Tyrolia and southern Tyrolia. With the European Union, all this went away. There were no borders anymore. We have the same money. And those terrorists, they have no reason to fight because basically Europe and Schengen is one country. So this terrorist thing is going away. And if you look at Corona, we were closing the borders again. So we wanted to fight a virus, but we were just hitting up back things. And if you look at things at terror was a big fear. The deaths of terror, they were quite high when you look back in the 70s. So there was Northern Ireland, Bologna, this was a mafia incident where they wanted to kill one judge and they killed some other people as well. Munich, this was a right-wing terrorist in Munich. Lockerbie was some terrorists not bringing down a jumbo jet. But terror victims in Western Europe, is the probability to die on that is extremely low. I love my death statistic. That's for scientists with black humor, a very nice thing, and you can pick you out some numbers. Germany has no speed limits on the motorways. There are 3,500 people dying every year, dying by car accidents, and you have to put that into relation to your population. So the death risk, deaths per 1 million inhabitants, is 44. if you look at the US, you have 35,000 people dying in a car accident. So actually in the US, it is about double to 2.5 times more dangerous to drive a car than in Germany without having any speed limits. Another thing is, mom says, drive carefully. And I would return to her, oh, be careful at home, because in Germany, 10,000 people are dying in home accidents. Mostly it's if you put up the curtains, you fall down the ladder, and then you'll die. So hanging up the curtain is about 2.5 times more dangerous than driving a car. The other thing is sport accidents. Mom says, oh, don't do dangerous sports. There are only 234 people dying of dangerous sports every year. And a very sad number, there are 10,000 people dying of suicide. And I put the actual corona numbers into a relation. Common assault is 433 people dying of that. So don't go through dark parks, you will be killed there, which is absolutely bullshit. Hanging up curtains is the most dangerous thing you can do. So I don't know if it's a lockdown a good thing. People start to work at home and then they get an accident and they will die, not of corona, but because of the work at home they do. And the other funny thing with common assault is 2/3 of people getting killed are killed by strong relatives. Mainly it's the man killing his girlfriend or his wife. Ladies, be careful when picking up a partner, it can save your life. And the shooting thing is a very interesting thing. And actual travel restrictions. Turkey has 5,000 deaths of corona. This means 60 per 1 million, and Germany has 110. Why are the Germans are not allowed to travel to Turkey to do their holiday? Because the probability that you catch corona there is about the half than you have at home. It's about rational size that we have. Thinking about illnesses, people are comparing corona to it's only a flu. They said you can compare it to the flu, but please do not say it's only a flu. Most people do a big mistake, say, oh, cold and flu. Flu is a virus infection, quite similar to corona. It's a different type of virus. Doctors of medicine can do that, but of course you can die of a flu. And most people talk about the Spanish flu after World War I. They had 50 million of deaths, but there were quite two big other pandemias that the world has mostly forgotten: the Asian flu, which was 57 to 58, or the Hong Kong flu, 68 to 70. And the Hong Kong flu had about 2 million deaths worldwide, which I think, and nobody noticed it. It was not on the press. People were dying in the hospitals were overcrowded. And we had similar situations that we have now with corona, but now we have a world that is thinking about. So flu can be as dangerous as corona, and similar measures. On the other hand, do we want to have lockdowns in the future when there will be a flu at the moment? So usually flu will have about 500,000 deaths per year. Main difference is you can have a vaccination against flu. Measles. There are 142,000 deaths for measles, and this is a special German topic. You can have a vaccination against measles, but there is a certain type of people who think that vaccinations is not a good thing. Then they probably love to die of measles and not to do a little education. Malaria, I said about 500,000 people for that die of that. Another funny thing is, for especially the tourism industry, 74,000 people are dying every year in Germany because of alcohol. Compare the number of 8,000. So if a government really would want to save lives, they'll probably abolish alcohol. No, they don't. Tobacco, they think it's 120,000 deaths per year. Fine particles, the nice little things that go out of your Volkswagen hacked car. So they think about 13,000 people die of fine particles. And heat. So this is climate change. If you've got a heat wave, you get about 8,000 deaths per year because of heat. Now they will. The main problem is it's old people. They stop drinking. They get dehydrated, and then they all die. And I think it's a number which is very, very astonishing. Is 10 to 20,000 people die every year in Germany because of hospital germs. So going to a hospital is a danger itself. You get 500 to 600,000 infections of germs that are only existing in hospitals. They're extremely hard to treat because the medication is hard for that. So sometimes if you get corona, it's maybe you stay at home and don't go to hospital, because if you survive corona, you'll maybe die of a hospital germ. It's a hygiene issue, and all the little scientists from Germany that are in the press at the moment, they published until December last year those figures, and which is, I think, but the press is not noticing it. So main good thing is, because Germany was very good with corona, is how many hospitals do we have, and it's very bad for politicians to save in the public health system. This is good for every country, but you said Italy was very hit by corona, but Italy only has 12.5 hospital intensive care beds per 100,000 inhabitants, compared to Germany it's about 30. So it's about the capacity of your health system that can save lives. And if you look at the US, this is basically an issue. And if you have countries, we have a health system where everybody has access to it with a common health insurance. This is actually saving lives at the moment. I have to talk about models. Well, good thing is, these are, and I want to talk about computer models. Models are annoying, those real life models and computer models. And what we're doing is we want to predict the future with computer models. We had a very big computer model fail. This was I cannot pronounce that. In 2010, there was an ash cloud completely calculated by a computer, and then they stopped flying all over Europe. But nobody made the chance to measure if there was volcanic ash in the air. I thought it was the biggest disaster for tourism industry because of a computer model fail. But now we have corona. This is a real virus, and these were real particles, but nobody tried to measure, and they were measuring the wrong things. But they shut down the air traffic for a few weeks, which was a disaster. The thing what I learned is I did a dissertation about computer models. Computer models is always a bit like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It is there was a computer, he was asked the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe and everything, and the result was 42. And we have to be very careful that computer models for predictions are real. Look at your weather forecast. The weather forecast is always right if you open the window and look outside, but the weather forecast, just be careful with computer models in the future. I have to talk about the irrational side. I love this. You're very safe not to catch corona with that, but is it really safe that this little girl is sitting on the scooter? I don't know. And if you look at the numbers of people dying in traffic accidents in Asia, another thing is Samuel Hahnemann, he invented homeopathy, and there were surgeons. Sometimes with the irrational side, homeopathy is actually basically doing nothing. You got medicine that does no harm, but has no use. But if you've got the alternatives where surgeons had a real bad rate because people were dying when the surgeons put the knife on them. So sometimes it's doing nothing is better than doing anything. So homeopathy can help, but only if doing nothing is better than doing something. And sometimes it is. And the biggest issue is the role of the media we have at the moment. At the corona crisis, we have a real threat, but we have the media only talking about corona death statistics, and forgetting all other problems that we have at the moment. So this thing is there's a hysteria of corona is even more dangerous than the real the threat of the virus itself. If you could see people sitting there in a car wearing a face mask, who is infecting somebody if you're sitting alone in a car? It's crazy. So if you think about real risks, but the fear is much harder than that. So I give you a little old example how the media is influencing people. This is the Luxor terrorist attacks in 1997, and this is Blick, a Swiss tabloid press. And they showed this picture with all the red, with the red color, and you think about the blood is going there. The original picture, it was water, it was cleared. But this one said, oh, all the blood is going down there, and Egypt had to suffer from a downturn in tourism numbers because of the terrorist attack. The real risk, very low. The effects on tourism, extremely great. And so this is the terrorist attack. Most people want to have no stress and no fear in the future. So if people are frightened, they will don't go to your country. They don't want to spend their holiday. The fear is the one feeling you don't want to have in your mind. And scientists say 90% of all decisions are irrational. Only 10% are rational, which makes it very hard for the moment to do that. And what I told about the responsibility that we have. These are inbound numbers in Europe. And you see about 1/4 of German guests, of the inbound guests in Turkey are coming from Germany. And you think about the economic effects that we have in those destinations, the money spent, people not going to the countries, not spending the money there, the destinations have real problems. It's very easy for German politicians to say, oh, we just don't go on holiday this year and we will survive. Germans will survive without a holiday per year, but probably not the destinations we are visiting. And my opinion is we have all the people that are hosting us as guests, and our responsibility is to help them in the destinations. And I'm not very good in that closing borders is a good way to defeat that. So this is all the stakeholders for the situation. You have scientists, and all scientists want to publish and be stars. You have scientists of different kinds of subjects. And if you ask a lung specialist, he'll say everybody has to stop smoking. If you ask a virologist or epidemiologist, he will start, oh, traveling is very bad because you're spreading germs all over the way. But economists, what will be the death toll of the economic downturn that we have at the moment? I don't want to be a politician at the moment to decide open up economy, and with every medication we have at the moment, we're doing more harm. So everything you do is harming, and you have to decide what is the least harm that we have, and all the tourist providers. And we have to be very careful. Politicians are not deciding rational. Politicians in Western democracies want to be re-elected. So they will make decisions that people think that are good. And which is giving a little bit of fears. At the beginning of the pandemic, we had some politicians, leaders, especially Southern Germany and Austria, they had a very strict course, which was good at the beginning. But people loved it was a little bit of a little dictatorship. And those politicians think, oh, it's good to have a dictatorship and no discussions. And the bad thing is that we stop discussions about if the measures are good or bad, or if they are just some symbol. Closing borders, do it really help to spread a virus, or is it more a symbol that people feel safe? Another good thing that we have from German history is people love the freedom of travel. 1990, when the German borders opened, people were fighting for the freedom of travel. So I'll see that people will start traveling very soon. We think about it will take usually 2 to 3 years that they go back to habits. I don't see the whole world locking them each at home, but we have a quite interesting or a quite hard time until this will be. And it was very sad to see all the borders in Europe to be closed as a symbol of freedom, and now they were closed. So within Germany, they open it, but I don't understand many decisions of travel bans and travel restrictions. For me, I will a little bit end. So the good thing, so one thing is just to remind you, the good old times were not so good. This is human psychology. we'll forget about the bad things that were in the past, and we only remember the good things that there were. All decisions are 100% irrational, especially from politicians. They want to be re-elected. They do things that probably are not bad. And with the irrational thing that politicians are doing, most politicians, especially in Germany, they don't see the global aspects of the tourism industry. And this is one thing that we have to do. We are 330 million colleagues all over the world in the tourism industry. It is 10% of the world GDP. If there's no tourism, we are really into trouble. And from Germany, there's a study, 19 billion euro German tourists are spending into developing economies. What is happening to those countries? A virus has no nationality. It makes no sense blocking borders of countries that have basically no virus infection. I don't question antivirus measures like this distancing or face mask or that, but we have to keep a very good eye on that. We, especially countries like Germany, have to take up over responsibility for our destinations and the economic development there. So we have to develop a tourism with a responsibility in a world that has been dangerous beforehand, but we have to take about those uncertainties that we have. And the other thing is, all tourism industry should stand together to all the governments to say, yes, we want to have tourism, not crazy ways of tourism where we want to infect everybody and people will die of the coronavirus, but we want to have responsible tourism that is safe. 100% safety cannot be guaranteed. So you probably will survive coronavirus, but you'll die because you hung up your curtains at home. But as safe as possible, and so we want to restart again with that. Okay. If there are any questions, or you want to throw rotten tomatoes on me because I talk bullshit, just contact me personally. I'll be on the online exhibition. If you have any questions for my unique study model and want to more info for that, just ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. As I said in the beginning, clear views and the ability to communicate clear views, very entertaining and a lot of good info. Thank you. It certainly put things in perspective. 90% of what we do, what we decide, is irrational. Thank you very much, Alex. Alex is, as he said, on the Expo the next couple of days. He has his booth. You will be doing another show on education later this week. We are looking much forward to that. So, and we have our next event in about 30 minutes. It will be a mammoth session. Sebastian Borrell has 6 personalities from the tourism business with whom he will discuss what's going on at the moment. Thank you so much. See you next time.